peace in the Middle East when there's none at home? How can we have understanding in the land when there's none in the woman and there's none in the man? How can we heal the wounds of the world if we cannot heal our own? And where does this peace on earth begin if not in the home? Where do we go now? Do we let the devil in, or do we get up and fight? I say fight. Surely we know how to conquer all our fears, bring an end to the violence, bring an end to the tears. How can we heal the wounds of the world if we cannot heal our own? And where does this peace on earth begin if not in the home? Well, there's too much talk about it, and too many walk without it. Tell me, where is the love? Where is God in your life? To my left, a woman abuses her children. To my right, somebody's beating their wife. Tell me, where is the love? Where is the God in your life? How can we heal the wounds of the world if we cannot heal our own? And where does this peace on earth begin if not in the home? How can we heal the wounds of the world if we cannot heal our own? And where does this peace on earth begin if not in the home? Ooh, yeah.
It's important for us to remember the names of those who we have lost in this community. We speak your names today because we are truth seekers, and we call out your names in remembrance of your lives and your unjust deaths, and to remind us we must continue the struggle for justice in your names. We speak your names so that we will not forget who you were and why we are here. We speak your names to proclaim our absolute refusal to bend or forget the injustice, the brutality, and inhumanity that took you from us, and we call your names today so that we don't forget you and that we never let others forget either. We speak your names because your lives mattered. So I'm gonna call out the names, and I've added the ages because I think it's important. Christopher Kalanji, 19. Killed a year ago, January 27th. Was it Christopher? Oh, yeah. Somebody's, yeah, okay. Aaron Campbell, 25, 2010. Kendra James, 21 years old, 2003. James Jahar Perez, 28, 2004. Tony Lloyd Stevenson, 31, 1985. Keaton Otis, 2010, 25 years old. James Chasse Jr., 42, 2006. Byron Hammock, 26, 2002. Jose Mejia Poop, 29, 2001. Darius Johnson, 2011. You probably don't remember him, but he died as he was telling police that he had shortness of breath and he couldn't breathe. He was going through cardiac arrest and he died shortly after that. Richard Dickey Dow, 1998. He died of 2 rib fractures, bruises, and scratches. And the last 4 names I'm going to call because we need to remember that this didn't just start. In 1974, October, Kenny Allen, 27 years old, was killed by Portland police. A couple weeks later, Joe Hopkins was killed. He was 28. In November of that same year, Charles Menifee, 26 years old, was killed by the police. And then in March of 1975, 17-year-old Ricky Johnson was killed. So we call out their names so that we remember them.
The people that make the laws in this state are affected by various elected officials as well as police department people and sheriffs. The legislature creates the laws that allows the contracts that allow police officers to have an out if they're brutal. They're the people that make the laws that allow the police officers to have an out if they're flat out lying. District attorneys are the people who do not prosecute people for out and out lying. In my son's case, every significant issue that the police brought up to defend how they killed my son was proven a lie. Every single one. We had our attorneys, Tom Steenson and Tom Schneider, make a presentation which was attended by the media. Presentation was reported, and that's as far as it went. I never heard not one word about a district attorney pursuing any of this. And you may also be about affecting how district attorneys look at cops who are lying. Because when you looked at my son, and there is no one who would dispute this particular issue, my son had almost no physical skills. He could grow a beard, that was it. And he looked scroungy. That was another thing. But the cops presented my son as though he was Muhammad Ali. And it was kind of strange because they grouped that in with drugs. And if you've ever fought anyone, you know for a fact that being under the condition of drugs is not a good thought because you're not effective. I wanted to point out then that the city has a history with older people, such as myself, that make it somewhat incongruous that a cop would lie. And it makes it incongruous that a cop would beat somebody to death. It would make it incongruous that 2 cops would put a guy in a hog-tied position in the back of a cop car, which is totally plastic and very, very hard, lay him on his stomach, go for 45 minutes for 1 mile, and not get prosecuted for whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I believe you have a lot of progress going, and it brings a lot of faith and love to me. My wife, who is deceased, and my son are both watching and praying for you, I know. Thank you.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Thank you, James Chasse Sr., for saying that wonderful thing about how the police lie. First of all,
That was a conversation that Aaron Campbell had with the police. They asked him to come out. And he said, if I come out, all you're going to do is shoot me. They said, oh, no, we're not. We just want to talk to you. Are you suicidal? He came out. His back was towards them. You guys should already know the story. With his hands on his head. One officer said, put your hands up, but he had his hands behind his head. And they shot him with bullets, beanbags, and then the officer took an AR-15 and shot and killed him because he began to run. And they said they was afraid. They're the ones who had the guns. So it's a wonderful thing that we're here together. United we stand, or divided we fall. We will not back down. Why? Because we demand justice now. We need to stay together. This is not a black thing. It's a community thing. They don't want us to stay together. They don't want us to be united. They don't. They're killing us. They're killing our children. They're killing our fathers, our mothers. They're killing, and they will lie. So let's stay together. Whenever there's a gathering, let's share it. Make sure you have your cameras. Make sure whenever you see the police, take pictures, because pictures have a lot of words. They'll even try to turn that around and tell you what you're seeing is not true. But let's stay together. And thank you for being here. I couldn't miss it. God bless you guys.
My name is Jenna Yokayama, and I'm a member of Asians for Black Lives Portland. We're a collective made up of people from different Asian communities here in Portland. First off, I would like to extend my gratitude to the AMA Coalition for Justice and Police Reform for their leadership and for organizing this march today. Thank you to Maranatha Church for your generosity, and to the family of Aaron Campbell. I and all of us with Asians for Black Lives Portland can only express our deepest condolences and are sorry that our communities must continue to meet on this day at all. Asians for Black Lives Portland formed in response to the murder of Michael Brown and the uprisings in Ferguson that followed, along with the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement. We are not the first, nor will we be the last Asian American movement to stand in solidarity. We walk in the paths created by our elders, such as Grace Lee Boggs and Yuri Kochiyama. Today is a day of celebration for some in the Asian community, as today is Lunar New Year. On this day, family and friends come together to wish each other good fortune. Lunar New Year is seen as a time of renewal, a time to wipe the slate clean. At Asians for Black Lives Portland, we see this as a time to renew our commitment to the ongoing fight for Black lives and Black liberation. Over the last week, Asians for Black Lives Portland hosted what we called a Lunar New Year Week of Action, where we hosted a series of dinners at Black-owned restaurants for the Asian American community. Each dinner was created as a space for Asian people to come together to talk about the importance of living and acting in solidarity with the Black community. In hosting these dinners, we managed to surprise ourselves when we saw that every seat for the week had been reserved in advance, and then surprise ourselves again when we surpassed our fundraising goal for Black-led organizations by raising 3 times the amount that we had originally anticipated. I tell you this not to brag, but to pass on the feeling of hope our week of action has given to me personally. In a time of uncertainty and political unease, it is encouraging for me to see that I am not alone in my support for solidarity. According to the Chinese zodiac, 2017 is the year of the rooster, an animal known for its persistence and its strength, as well as for its restless nature. As I've watched people take to the streets over the last week, I can see that 2017 is truly turning out to be the year of the rooster. I know that this attendance of this march is far larger than the organizers had originally planned for, so I'll leave you with a quote from the legendary Japanese-American activist Yuri Kochiyama, who said this: "The movement is contagious, and the people in it are the ones who pass on the spirit." Thank you very much.
We must march to make our fellow Americans and the new president listen to our calls for justice, equality, and inclusivity. We must march against fear, hatred, and division and against politicians who try to inflame people's worst instincts for their own political purposes. We must march to stand up for voter empowerment rather than voter suppression. We must march to ensure every child, from the son of a CEO to the daughter of a waitress, has every opportunity to achieve their dreams. We must march against the senseless killings of young men and women of color by the officers sworn to protect our citizens. And we must march to say, Black Lives Matter. And we will continue to say they matter until the scourge of discrimination afflicting our communities of color is nothing more than a distant memory, because we know America can be better than it is today. Justice and equality have never come easy in America. The truth is that for all of our lofty rhetoric, the reality of America has never matched the beauty of our founding principles. But it is equally true that through relentless and courageous actions of true American patriots who refuse to give up, refuse to give in, America has consistently moved closer to our ideals. We have come too far to let this new president turn back the clock on the progress we have made in this nation. Now more than ever, we must stand together to carry on the work of the brave civil rights leaders who came before us and lift our fellow Americans up. Together, we can and we will achieve the dream of one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
While I could not be here today, I did want to share a few words. We face difficult times. We have seen attempts to dismiss justice and equality. We see the blatant efforts to divide and perpetrate hate. Now is the time to rise up. Americans of all races must act in the truest tradition of the legacy of Dr. King by acting to speak up and push back against injustice. And that's the lesson, to speak up and push back, that will endure and get us through these uncharted waters of the next 4 years and beyond. We will speak up and push back against the empty bluster that boasts of building walls. What we want to do instead is build community. We must speak up and push back against any scheme to create a Muslim registry. What we want instead is a community that builds on our traditions, recognizing we are a nation of immigrants. We must continue to speak up and push back against the unjust killings of our black and brown men, women, and children. We must speak up and push back against the attacks on our LGBT community. We must speak up and push back against injustice brought against our Native communities. We must speak up and push back against threats to our immigrant and refugee community. Just a few weeks ago at SEI, right over here in Portland, I heard from Oregonians organizing to speak up and push back against any plot that lurches us backward to the days when health care was only for the healthy and the wealthy.
I want to speak particularly today to my white friends, brothers and sisters, because we must see and recognize that white privilege and racism exists in virtually every institution in this country. I'm very sad to say it also exists in our religious institutions, the very institutions that I represent today. Many people of faith and goodwill have not lived up to the vision of the beloved community, which is why we're here where we are today.
Yes.
It is necessary for those of us with privilege to repent of the appalling silence of good people.
Yes.
We must confess that we have not embodied what was designed for us as our shared destiny by our Creator from the very beginning. To live in intimate relationship with one another, so intimate that when one of us hurts, we all hurt. Caring deeply enough for each other that we will commit ourselves to put everything on the line in order to protect the human dignity of every one person whenever and whenever their dignity is not honored.
look around the audience. There's not one demographic that's not represented here. Either you're doing it in solidarity or you're doing it because it's tied to you. I'm here today because I have spent my life trying to understand the oppressive systems that seem to think that I'm going to take it laying down. I'm sorry, but I'm from Portland. Not only that, but I'm a member of the global human population. And as an environmentalist, as a mother, and as a veteran, most importantly, to sworn, because I take my word seriously, to defend us all, each and every one of you, from threats both foreign and domestic. And if there's any indication of the Portland Police Bureau's policy on rules of engagement with civilians, it was the pepper spraying on Burnside Bridge and compression grenades at Pioneer Square last week that me and my children were forced to endure. Yeah, no, we were at a dance party at the square and we were surrounded. Surrounded. I couldn't cross a street without a line of riot cops telling me to, no, make a left here. Why, so I can go down to that group? I'm sorry, I don't know if you think I was born yesterday. That's not happening. And so ultimately, I know that a lot of you have cameras, and I know that this will make its round. So to the police officer who told me that I should be a better mother and take my kids home and feed them dinner, here's my sign for you. All right, because this is what I'm spreading. This is what I'm about. We can all communicate and we can all respect each other, but this is how we do it, with peace and with love. And that is the greater lesson for my children. That is the greater lesson for us all here. And as outraged as the general non-activist community may be about that event, this is all part of the risk we take defending our rights. Non-violent, direct civil disobedience is the only way forward. To be heard. I grew up understanding that the police here in Portland weren't my protectors. I grew up in Felony Flats. Back when in the early 90s when it was scary. And you drive out there now and it's kind of cleaned up, and the building that blocked the view of the slum apartment building that I lived in is gone now, which so it's freaky to see it like right there in your face. But at the end of the day, the cops drove through the neighborhood slowly with their lamp, not to see if there were people that needed help, but to find people. So that way they could arrest them. And it was usually my brother and his friends just hanging out, because guess what? You can't go out and get in trouble, so you have to stay close to home.
We ask ourselves as sisters, how do we love one another? That's the theme of this march and this celebration. That's why we're all here, is to love one another. And when we talk about that as sisters, it means listening deeply to each other. It means what Dr. King said when we were moving to a thing-centered society to a people-centered society. And we do that by listening, by caring. And at Sisters, what we've heard so often is that the police are not our friends of our community. And so I want to teach you all a new call and response real quick that we say. And so when I say house keys, you say not handcuffs, okay? House keys. Not handcuffs. House keys. Not handcuffs. House keys. Not handcuffs. Thank you all.
And now, upon the Creator of all heaven and earth and all life, the Mother, the Spirit of the Mother Earth, the one who gives us balance and harmony in life, the source of all being, we give thanks to you. Empower us to continue to run this race of justice, that we may finish the course and hear those faithful words that say, well done, good and faithful servants. Amen and amen. Give yourself a big hand. Amen. Give yourself a big hand. You've been strong. You've been strong. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. Continue this battle until we finish the course.
I love you all. I truly do, because I'm so happy that you're going to help protect our people of color who will be targeted and will be picked up by the cops because they don't know what illegal looks like. So with great deal of love in my heart, I wrote this song 45 years ago, and it created marches all over Europe where at one point 70,000 women encircled the Greenham Common Women's Missile Base in England. And I bring you this song that Marilyn and I has made a recording of. Pick your feet up, everyone. Gather your spirit and take my hand. Today our journey has begun. Gather your spirit and take my hand. Pick your feet up, everyone. Gather your spirit and take my hand. Today our journey has begun. Gather your spirit and take my hand. Nobody can push back an ocean. It's gonna rise back up in waves. And nobody can stop a wind from blowing, can stop a mind from growing.
And this is where you sing.
You can't kill the spirit. It's like a mountain, old and strong. It lives on and on. You can't kill the spirit. It's like a mountain, old and strong. It lives on and on. You can't kill the spirit, 'cause it's like a mountain, old and strong. It lives on and on. You can't kill the spirit. It is like a mountain, old and strong. It lives on and on. Come on. You can't kill the spirit. It's like a mountain, old and strong. It lives on and on. Pick your feet up, everyone. Gather your spirit and take my hand. Today our journey has begun. Gather your spirit